Hi guys, this is SDJR7F88 speaking, with this week's update on Compton Martin. Now, as you know, there was no update last week. This was because of, I've been very busy over the past few weeks, so I didn't get anything done, and also last weekend, as you saw from my videos if you watched them, if you haven't, please check them out, was a bit of a Somerset Dorset day trip, where me and number one classic car fan went to the Midsummer Norton Gala, and then we went followed the route of the line to Midford, where we got on the line and walked up to the Two Tunnels project. So yeah, it was a very, very interesting day. So not much progress was made on the layout over the past 2 weeks, but a bit has been done over yesterday, and a few other items that I would like to feature in this video about slightly connected to Compton Martin, like these wagons down here, is also going to be in this update basically. So anyway, let's see what I actually have done this week. First of all, as you notice, there's a few patches of static grass where it had come off. As you can see, I had recently done this patch. Sadly, the glue, you can still see the glue through it, and that is dry. Luckily, this is just the undercoat, and obviously all the long wavy grass has got to go over the top, and this is, you know, basically, it'll be like that all the way underneath anyway, because I've got to smear glue all over the top of everything here to put on the new lovely wavy static grass, which has recently arrived. So yeah, that's basically what I've done with the static grass. I also did a little trim along here because although it flows beautifully there, when it got to here it didn't flow beautifully, so it was sort of like rigid. It went like that, stopped, like proper borderline. I still got to hoover this bit up here, but I redid it, so I smudged it into the gravel like the ballast like I did down here, so it should, you know, flow better. Now another major thing that has happened this week, as you can probably notice, is that the cliff faces have been painted white again. Now, this is for a simple reason. I wasn't pleased with the colour that I put on there. It looked too uniformed, if you know what I mean. I tried putting different techniques on top of it. It didn't quite work. So I bought a cheap bottle of acrylic, along with a black acrylic, which I'll explain what I did with the black later on. But basically, I've repainted them white. They're still a bit wet, I think. But yeah, the reason why I painted them white, hopefully it's going to go matte. It looks pretty matte. Although there is a bit of a shine to it. I might need to put a bit of matte varnish on there to dull it down a bit. But basically, the reason for that is I've actually been watching the Woodland Scenics tutorials. Oh, sorry about it, I've got noise of vehicles passing by. But anyway, I've been watching the Woodland Scenics tutorials on how to create a realistic rock face. Now, they suggested that obviously you use their pigments. Two of which I bought on when I went and visited some Signals models last week in the video. There's this one here, yellow ochre, and black. Now these you water down, they're pigments. You water them down with water, obviously. 1 to 16, I think. 1% part pigment to 16 part water. Mix it all together, and then it's called leopard effect, and you sponge it on. Although you need 4 colours to create the colour that I'm after. As you know, it's a red sort of rock, and the tutorial they did, funny enough, was on a red sort of rock. So I thought that looked perfect on Compton Martin. So I got 2, ochre and black, but I need to get raw umber and burnt umber, but they didn't have them in stock, sadly. But then my nan has a load of watercolour paints, and funny enough, these here are actually pigments. And if you look at the names, raw umber, burnt umber. So hopefully these mixed again, 1 to 16, I think, or it might be a bit different. I have to watch the tutorial again before I do it. Mix those up to water and then sponge them on. I think you sponge on yellow ochre first, then you sponge I think it's burnt umber on next, leopard effect, you're leaving parts of the white shining through, and then you go all over with raw umber. And then you finish it off once it's dried. You go over with black to highlight the little rock details, which hopefully the plaster cloth should do that, because I've moulded it quite roughly. As you can see there's nice little indentations like on rocks and stuff. But I might have to map down the white first. Anyway, same down here and all that. Anyway, here's that acrylic paint that I purchased. Now the reason for that is 1, obviously for the cliff faces, as I just mentioned, but 2, the tarmac. Now, many of you commented on how the tarmac looked pretty much rubbish because of the colour, and I knew that straight from the start. So I decided to mix up some grey and make a dark sort of grey. Now, personally, this was a little tester piece here. this was way too dark. I'm trying to get a nice sort of dry tarmac colour. And the thing is, I figured out how to do it. I think you need to add a tiny bit of like this raw umber to it, because it gives it sort of a brown tinge, because sort of dried out summery tarmac on a hot day, yeah, which has been there for quite a few years. It's like a light grey, but it's got some brown to it. Although I did give it a bit of a test on the road surface. It didn't come out too bad. I didn't add the raw umber for this one, so I'm going to have to redo this. But as you can see, I left sort of the light shade in as well. You can see here. But yeah, it went a bit too light on the bridge, but still, it looks alright. But it needs a bit more. So I'm going to try and mix up some more raw umber and go over the top of that and redo it. Obviously, that's probably dried out now. But I didn't do the yard for another reason. Another thing which has happened in this video. So there are quite a few little things have been done which are quite messy. Now, as you know, I ran out of the 3D paint. So I bought a bag of, well no, I didn't buy a bag, I traded in a bag of coarse ballast for a bag of fine ballast. At Signals, which I didn't open, and this is the fine ballast. It's a tiny bit too coarse for the painted stuff, but it's not too bad. I might go over it with a tiny bit of sandpaper, but what I did is I spread a thin layer of glue on there. As you can see, it's solid on there, it's not moving. There are a few little bits that need hoovering up, but I basically just sprinkled that everywhere. So yeah. Basically this will all be painted over. I tested a bit of paint like there. It obviously that was the wrong colour paint, but you can see it doesn't look too bad. It's a tiny bit thicker than that. But with a bit of sandpaper on that might go a bit finer. So yeah, still got to try and get the tones right. It's going to be a bit havoc, because this, I don't know why, those pigments are really watery and nice. These are quite thick and you need to really grind them in. As I had trouble the first time when I tried mixing a little bit up on there. Anyway, on to another part that I've actually been painting. I've actually painted the little gully, if you could call it that. I used Humbrol 29 all the way down there, and it's come out quite nice. Obviously, it's got to be put weeds and all that in there, but bits of ballast have been painted over at the bottom, which is brilliant, because it looks like they've bits of rock and all that been washed down in there. I got covered in like the silt from it. So yeah, that went quite well. Obviously, I've got to get some water to put in there, fake water. And all the shrubs and everything to cover up the little tiny bits of clay you can still see through there. But yeah, that came out really well, I feel. And the other thing I did, I actually painted the little straw, which is now the pipe. As you can see inside, I painted it 29, just rubbed it around in there with a paintbrush. And then I went over it with some of the spare grey I had left over. Now, that colour is the perfect colour. That colour is the colour I'm looking for. Because after I painted all the tarmac, like I said, I mixed a tiny bit of raw umber in there, and it wasn't mixing in properly. But literally, so I bet I had painted that. But anyway, after I painted that, I ended up mixing a bit more raw umber in, and it actually worked, ironically. So I got, it was only a little tiny bit, it's that little patch there, and that's the perfect tone I was looking for. It was whoops, carriages are rolling down there. It was lighter than that, but darker than that, and it's the perfect colour. As you can see, that is the colour I'm looking to paint the tarmac, although there will be tone in there because the dark stuff will shine through on there, which would be perfect. But you see I've painted this, it's like a concrete tube now, so, and I didn't get any paint on the ballast or anything, so that looks perfect. Anyway, that's actually the update for the main layout. Oh, no, almost forgot. A few other items I got at Signals, which are for the main layout, is another set of trees to go in the holes over there. So we've got 3 big large trees there, 2 little ones, a little one, and another large one there. So yeah, those are the large trees that I bought. Really good. Then what else did I get? Oh yeah, one other thing. I also bought a little pack of barrels. These are going to be weathered up, make them all look nice and grimy and oily. And then I'm going to put them alongside the goods shed, all dotted around the yard and stuff. Oil barrels and stuff. Now we're on to the weathered wagons. As you can see, there's a little rake of 3 here. Now, I'm going to start with the bad news on these here. The bad news is the tanker. The tanker started off amazingly well. You can't see it because most of the weathering was rubbed off. But basically, down here, if it focuses, excuse all the barking, but you can see there was rusty streaks from these metal parts down here. And it worked really well. I went over all the chassis and everything. It looked amazing. Then it came to the oil stain. Now the oil stain is the make or break point of the wagon. In this case, it was the break point. The breaking point. I messed it up. This took me 3 days to sort of get to this sort of stage. Hours of redoing and doing, and as you can see on this side, it is just atrocious. So I basically went and ruined a wagon. Obviously, when I went over to Signals Models last week, I took it over with me, explained, apologised. He said it's perfectly fine. You know, obviously it's a first attempt at a tanker. It doesn't matter. I was going to do it on a second-hand wagon, but they didn't have any tankers in stock, so I took one of the new ones. I feel kind of guilty for damaging it, but I'm sure if anybody in the shop would want it, I'm sure it'd be available at a certain price. I'm not sure what Mike wants to do with it yet, the shop owner, but I'm sure he'll have a use for it. So that was a bit of sad news, really, but I'm going to obviously redo all the nice streaky weathering, but it looked perfect. I should have just left it there. I should have just gone, no, I'm not going to put oil stain on it. I'm just going to make it look like an all ground dirty old tanker, which has been lucky enough to not have any oil spills. Instead I went over the top, and as you know, you go, oh, I better just move that there. Oh, yeah, move that there, and then you end up going everywhere with it. So that's a bit of sad news. I'll move that to one side on the other line. But anyway, good news. You can see what I mean by the gradient now, or the layout. That's why I need to support the middle bit. So anyway, as that one runs off into the distance, still got 2 wagons here. Now, this one here was... Okay. Come back. I'll just leave it there so it doesn't roll away. Now this, as you can see, is a Batman cattle wagon. Now, this has been weathered by me. It's not one of the factory weathered ones. Well, I say by me. Originally, when I did my first 16 tonner, which was properly weathered, my friend Number One Classic Car Fan was also weathering wagons. And he took home this wagon to weather up. So I got the 16 tonner, which I weathered up and made all the flaky rust effect. And that's where I learnt my technique on how to do flaky rust. And Number One Classic Car Fan took this home because he's pretty good at weathering box fans. Now, he took it home, and then recently after he got a job, he basically doled all the wood down with the black. You can see all the black in there. He made all the wood look all black and grotty. He did the roof, and also he managed to weather up the chassis with his car's weathering powder. But apart from that, he got to that sort of stage, and obviously work took over, which is obviously more important than weathering up a wagon. And sadly, he never got to complete it. Anyway, we were having a chat in the model shop, and I think you probably hear it in that little clip I filmed with Mike, and he mentions about this wagon not being complete. So I took up the offer on finishing it for him, and basically, because it's been out of the shop for a year now, so yeah, it was about time it went back in to be sold. So what I did is, the roof was a tiny bit too shiny. Number One Classic Car Fan admitted that, so I got my soot powder and rubbed it all in, made it all grotty and nice. I then painted the wheels needed painting. There's still a few little bits and pieces to be done on it, but I weathered the wheels, I painted them. And then I went around the whole bottom of the wagon with this white powder to add the tone of like rotting wood along the bottom of it, because these cattle wagons tend to have white stains along the bottom. You've got obviously livestock in there, there's bound to be mess left in there, and it would get into the wood and cause it to rot, and all these weird stains would appear. So I managed to do all these stains. But anyway, it overall looks pretty good. As you can see, there's a tiny bit of paint that stick on there. That's actually the undercoat of the actual wagon. You can see how much the tone has changed from that shiny, plasticky brown in there to this lovely sort of tone. So I've got to go over there a bit of white powder to dull that down. But that's the only bit that really needs doing. Right? Apart from that, it's a complete wagon, and I'm sure there'll be a photo slideshow of this coming in the coming weeks before it goes back to the shop. So yeah, if I roll that one down there with the tanker. And then the third and final wagon is this. Now, I'll put it on the track a second. Hopefully it won't roll away. Now, this wagon is not for the shop. I picked it up, and basically this wagon here is for Brazil 2044. Hopefully when I meet him at the East Sunset Gala. So I'm going to weather this up for him, and I'm going to give it to him at the event, basically. I hope this wagon choice is alright for you, Brazil 2044, if you're watching. Because I saw you mentioned it in a video saying about my weathered wagons, and he basically flipped through his Batman catalogue and he said, I'd really like to see this one weathered. And luckily in Signals they had this precise wagon, so I snapped it up quickly. And basically this is the starting, this is the unweathered finish. So this is what it looks like now. I'm sure maybe next week I might have started it, hopefully. There's still quite a few weeks until the gala, so I've got plenty of time to take my time on this one. But I'm planning on, obviously doing the doll down roof, going through the details down the side, weathering all the stuff, maybe even doing some flaky rust on the metal part on the ends. Chassis, wheels, basically I'm just giving it the whole lot. I'm really caking it. Like, it's although this railway is a preserved railway, obviously if you go to somewhere like the Somerset Railway, there's obviously lines of wagons which are, I'd say looked well worked, which is perfect, because I do like seeing wagons which are a bit grotty, because it sort of captures what they would look like in real life. They wouldn't look all shiny like they do on preserved railway, so yeah, it'd be quite interesting. But anyway, this is the unfinished one, and that'll be the unstarted, unweathered one, but I'm sure next week a bit of progress might be made on it, and I might include it in my next update. But anyway, that's all for Compton Martin. Hopefully, like I said, the tanker, there'll be use for the tanker. That one's going to go straight on the shelf, so if anybody's interested in that one, drop a comment. Also, definitely get into contact with Signals, because some people have actually contacted Signals. Signals have replied back to them, and there's been no reply on whether they want the wagon after that. So I don't know why that is, but anyway, if you are interested in a wagon, just drop a comment, and obviously not that one, but do drop a comment. But yeah, that's about it for Compton Martin. Plans for this week: paint tarmac again, paint rock face, and then hopefully after that it will be on to what's going to be I class as a very fun bit, the proper long static grass. So anyway, quite a lot's going to happen this week. Oh, one other thing, there's also going to be a service between 379 Electric Star's layout and my layout, my main layout. The layout is already, he has already filmed his part of the tour. It's basically going to drop off some Mark 1s onto the layout, which I'm going to use as a preserved rail, which is going to be set in modern day, because I could change periods back on my layout, which will also be explained in a future video. I'm blabbering on again. But basically, yeah, so he's going to drop off some Mark 1s with his Class 66, which I also have. It's going to arrive with the Mark 1s, drop them off in a siding, and it's going to pick up 3 Pullman carriages and then deliver them to his layout. So yeah, that'd be a bit of an interesting service, so that might be coming this week. So anyway, this has been SDJR7F88 speaking, and thanks for watching.